This is the official podcast of the Oakland Raiders. Here's your host, Eddie Paskal.
Back in the Beat Lab. Feels like it's been a minute, but we are back. Eddie Paskal, official Raiders podcast, joined per usual by Kyle Martin, our Senior Vice President of Electronic Sports, Gaming Policy, and Analysis. How's that one?
Well, that's fantastic.
Is that a good
man.
one?
It sounds good.
Yeah.
It really rolls off the tongue.
It does. Like I say, you're a man of many talents, and electronic sports just the most recent one to rear its head. So, OTAs, right? I mean, we've talked time and time again this offseason, how this offseason has not felt like an offseason at all. And you put your head down, you look up, it's mid-May, and boom, OTAs. So they started Tuesday, first of 10 OTAs, right? So this is the first time where you see guys cover each other, and it feels a little bit more like an actual football practice, right? Obviously, guys not tackling each other, no one's going to the ground, none of that kind of stuff. Quarterbacks per usual in the red non-contact jersey, but definitely an air of, okay, something is building, something is coming, and that's football. It's real football. So, like we said, first of 10, the Raiders on the field, just a quick scheduling thing, on the field 3 times this week, along with 3 times next week. So they go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, off day Friday, same deal next week. And they're going to be open each week, one session per week on Tuesday. And we'll be there, we'll cover it per usual. But, because we're a little special, we got a little inside access while the other media is not allowed. So, Kyle, let me just start here. First of 10. Kind of a gloomy, overcast, kind of felt like a fall day yesterday out there. Top line thoughts, what stood out, what'd you like, what didn't you like? Talk to me.
Intensity. That's the first word that comes to mind when I'm thinking about practice yesterday. Obviously, a lot of the players were really fired up to get started. It's an exciting thing to start OTAs, get in the mix. You know, as you said, the players have been here working, but OTAs, the official start Tuesday. Rich Bisaccia, assistant head coach and special teams coordinator, was as fiery as advertised. Him and Gruden. Paul Gunther also in the mix. It's just good to see coaches yelling on the football field. That's what I envision when I think of a football coach.
Right. I mean, we've talked about it a bunch, and that's one thing that's really stood out to me, and I wrote about it a little bit yesterday, is that this entire offseason, to me, has felt business-like in a good way, right? There's no wasted energy. There's no wasted time. It's all very purposeful. And again, being out there yesterday for the 2 hours, like that's the thing that stood out to me again, is that yes, it's mid-May. Yes, we're still 2+ months out from the start of training camp, but there was an intensity out there. There was a purpose out there. Guys are competing already, and that's what you want to see, all right? I mean, like, as excited as we are to get back into business, get back into football, real meaningful football, and there's so much hype with the silver and black headed into 2018, and I honestly think for good reason, but we can't forget that this is a team that finished 6-10 last year, and now I know that there's a lot of new faces on this roster. There are a lot of new guys coming in. There are a lot of guys that were here that are no longer here. There's a whole new staff here. It is different. It is a completely different team, so I don't think it's completely fair to compare the two. But this is a team that a year ago underperformed. I don't think there's anyone who tell you that that's not the case, and kind of needed a little kick in the rear end. And that's certainly, that to me, looking from the outside in, looking at this team right now, it certainly feels like they've got that.
Definitely. One of the things that I really enjoyed that I haven't seen under previous regimes, not that this has anything to do with the way that he was coached, but
sure.
We saw a lot of 1s and 2s and 3s all getting in the mix. There wasn't it wasn't the all first team going. You saw Bruce Irvin going up against Connor Cook on Tuesday, and it was so entertaining to watch Bruce, try to come off the edge and what would have been a potential sack situation, get in Connor's face, kind of rile him up a little bit, just to let him know the competitive nature of the guys is there. Just because they're on the same team and just because it's OTAs, Bruce Irvin's still going just as hard as he would be if it was a regular season game out there.
Right, and I'm glad you brought Bruce up. I think that's a good segue to another thing that I think collectively we both noticed yesterday. Bruce is going forward. Bruce is not being asked to do some of the things that he was in previous years, kind of dropping coverage and do all that. Like Bruce is I mean, granted, it's been one day of OTAs, and there's still a lot that we're going to see, and we haven't even gone to camp, yada yada. So, but Bruce is going forward. Bruce is seeing the quarterback, and Bruce is getting the quarterback. And for a guy who has made his money in this league, and a guy who has been pretty open and honest, like, hey, this is kind of what I do best. I mean, that's great to see. That Bruce, line up on the end, go get the guy.
Not the person I'd want to see coming at me.
No.
Anytime, if I were on the opposing team last year and I saw him dropping coverage, I'd feel a little bit better just knowing that he's not coming like a locomotive straight at my face.
Sure. And I think, obviously looking ahead again, but I think that one thing that I'm really excited to see once we get to camp in a couple months is just the daily in and out battle of Bruce and Khalil Mack versus the Raiders tackles.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be fun.
Definitely. I mean, now, I didn't see it too much yesterday. But, seeing PJ and Maurice Hurst and Arden Key also get in the mix too, those young guys mixed in with the veterans, that's going to be a lot of athleticism, a lot of raw power coming off the edge and through the inside.
That's a lot of big boys coming at you.
Yeah.
A lot of big fellas. So, speaking of big fellas, can we talk about how Chuck Coop looks right now?
The man is yoked. He's not just bulky. He's shredded too. He's got that Khalil Mack physique,
Dude, he does kind of look like a smaller Khalil, a little bit.
Which is crazy because we always talk about from the moment you're born until the day you die, you could work out every single day and never look like Khalil. But Amari, like you said, he looks like a smaller version of Khalil.
Yeah, dude's a beast. I think I tweeted it yesterday kind of in jest, but dude, Coop looks like he could bench about 500 pounds right now.
Oh, yeah. 500
pounds.
And as we went over at the Combine, I'm not even sniffing 225.
No. You know what Coop kind of looked like, too? And he kind of looks like that dude. You remember, there's one of these guys, I'm sure in, every school, elementary school, but, who's just way bigger than every other kid his age.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's see, I'm trying to think who mine was. Ian Williams was a kid in my class when I was in middle school who was just bigger than, he was obviously a great athlete too, but he was just bigger than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of when I looked at Coop at the podium yesterday, I was like, man, dude, this guy's he looks like he's a high schooler playing with middle school kids or something like that. I don't know, he looks great.
He definitely doesn't look like he's only 23 years old.
No, which is awesome, but kind of a bummer at the same time when you're I'm 26 and Coop can for sure manhandle.
Coop is just dominating DBs and, you're dominating the keyboard, I guess, but it's not exactly the same thing.
If I ever have a good a day on the Twitter sticks as Coop has on Sundays, I'll consider that a win. But the one thing about Coop, though, all kidding aside, though, is he brought up something that I thought was interesting, too, is that you look at this wide receiving room, right? Jordy Nelson, Martavis, Coop, Seth Roberts, Johnny Holton, Switzer, Griff Whalen. I'm sure I'm forgetting someone. There's a bunch of guys there. But the one thing that Coop really said that kind of stood out to me is he goes, Gruden's kind of moving them all around now, at this point in the offseason, where Coop was asked, are you playing more in the slot this year? This year being this offseason. And he was kind of like, well, we're at this point, we're moving all around. We're kind of interchangeable pieces. And I personally like that. One, keep the defense on his toes, right? You don't want to have any guys all right, here comes Coop. I know what he's doing. And, here's Martavis, so they're going to do that. So, one, I really like that. But I think it also gives the guys, just a much deeper understanding, appreciation, familiarity with the playbook when you're being asked to know all these different positions and all these different route trees and things like that, based on Grudens Playbook, which for everything we've heard is a very intensive, exhaustive, long playbook. So I thought it was kind of cool.
I agree. I also think it's going to hold everyone accountable. If everyone knows what you're supposed to be doing, as they should. Derek Carr knows where everybody's supposed to be, yada, yada. But for those receivers, they can bounce ideas off of each other, whether they should be doing a couple more steps on a route or doing a couple less. But still, you're going to know who should be where. If you're put in that position to thrive, you're going to be looked to thrive. And I think Coop could thrive in the slot. I think Jordy could thrive in the slot. Outside, inside, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. One guy, and sorry, this is a complete aside, but one guy who I think you need to keep an eye on, and I'm excited to see over the next couple months, and I'm going to, if this dude pans out, I'm going to stand on the mountaintop being like, I told you. Emmanuel Lamour. This is my guy.
Dude, he's a big body.
He's a big dude, man. He's huge. He's huge. But you look at what he was asked to do kind of in his previous stops, and this is a guy, a little familiarity with some of the faces here, but this is a guy that, one, I think, can be like a good rotational linebacker, but is a beast on special teams. And you know, my passionate love of all things special teams. So Emmanuel Lamour, this is a guy. Keep an eye on him. I know it's just one OTA, but I'm excited to see what this dude looks like over the next couple months.
Fun fact about him also that I learned yesterday, according to PR guru Mike Taylor.
Shout out MT.
Emmanuel has a twin brother, not in the league, but he has a twin brother out there somewhere. Really? Not sure what he's up to, but he had some insightful things to say about the man.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Another thing about Emmanuel Lamour, since it's become the Emmanuel Lamour Hour, is he's a great bargain shopper.
I didn't. Yeah. Is he a couponer?
I don't think he's a couponer, but I remember when he came in and we sat him down for his free agent interview, he said that he is like a really big bargain shopper. Like, he loves sales. He loves finding like a good deal online. So more power to him, man. I'm the same way, but I also don't have M's in my bank account as a wise man once said. But I wonder, like, I do kind of wonder about this, though. When you're like, he's obviously huge. He's a huge dude, right? He's like, what, 6'4", 6'5", 2...
I looked yesterday, 6'4", 245.
Yeah, 245, and he's every bit of that. I wonder if it's harder to find sale items when you're obviously searching for, like, the big and tall sections of clothes. You know what I mean?
I mean, if not that he's Shaq by any means, but Shaq's shoe size was, you had to get it custom. And I don't know if Emmanuel Lamour needs custom wear, but I agree with you. I mean, it throws a wrench in your plan if you're trying to bargain and get some sales.
Yeah, that's true. Although, I don't know, everyone could use a little custom wear in their life, I guess. But
I wish I could do that.
Yeah, me too. Speaking of a man who maybe has some custom wear in his closet, I don't know, he might. Our guy Todd Bowles in New York, the New York Jets, breaking a little news yesterday, and now we've made it official. He's here in the house. Christian Hackenberg, former second-round pick of the New York Jets, is now your newest Oakland Raiders quarterback. So, your thoughts, Kyle?
Competition.
Yep, name of the game.
John Gruden's preached it ever since he got here. Competition. And now you just add one more quarterback to the QB room. They're going to have, he's a young guy. Probably, Connor Cook's what, 23, 24?
Yeah, I think so.
I think he said it best himself. He said, I'm only 23 years old. I haven't even really started my career yet.
Sure.
And Gruden knows them. They have a little familiarity.
Yeah, another quarterback camp guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
We watched that a little bit earlier today, and it was just interesting to see that Gruden noticed the subtleties of him changing his footwork, even the slightest bit, asking him why. So I think Gruden's going to have a lot of really beneficial things for Hackenberg to learn from. Obviously that's Gruden's deal. He's a QB mastermind.
Yeah, I think the Hackenberg acquisition is kind of the quintessential Raiders Gruden-McKenzie move in 2018, right? I mean, you give up a seventh round conditional draft pick for a guy that obviously has got some talent, right? I mean, you don't have the kind of career that he had at Penn State, and I know it's a little up and down, but you look at what he did when he first got there. I mean, dude was considered an easy first rounder. Obviously, the latter part of his career went how it went. He ends up going to the second, but I mean, to get a guy with kind of those intangibles, a guy who, if he's right, if he can, kind of right the ship, like you said, have a new chance, a fresh start, a chance to really kind of put his imprint on a team, impress a new coaching staff. I mean, if you're getting value like that for a 7th round conditional pick, boom, do it.
I agree.
You got it.
I mean, God forbid Derek ever gets hurt, but in the years past, when the terrible Indianapolis Colts Christmas Eve game 2 years ago, injures himself, he's out for the rest of the season. We have to rely on Matt McGloin, Connor Cook. Then last year, Derek goes down with another injury. We got EJ Manuel in the mix. As much as we need Derek on the field at all times, you need a solid backup. And not that, EJ Manuel or the other dudes haven't done their jobs, but you can never be too sure about the backup spot.
Sure. I mean, depth is the name of the game across the board in the NFL. Eagles kind of showed us last year the importance of having depth at the quarterback position especially. I mean, you look at I'm sure, I'll be honest, like I saw Carson Wentz go down when he went down. I go, oh, there it is. Nice season, Eagles, and look who's laughing now. So yeah, but I think that's even looking a little far down the road. I think just in the immediate, you said it best. Competition is what it's about. It's about fostering an environment of competition. About everything is earned, not given. I mean, pick whichever sports cliche you want and insert it here. But I think this is really a classic move and a classic example of that. Of you have a chance to go out and get a guy with a lot of talent. Hey, get him out here, put him in the mix, see what happens, and let's see, have the pieces fall where they may. So, is Derek shaking in his boots? Absolutely not. He doesn't need to. This isn't that. This isn't any of that. Derek is this franchise's quarterback of today, tomorrow, and the next decade. I don't think there's anyone who would argue otherwise. But you brought up a great point. This is a violent game. This is a dangerous game, and for the quarterbacks especially. I mean, one weird kind of fluky hit, and you need someone that you're really comfortable with to be able to come in and step into the fold. So I like it. Good move. I like it a lot. So let's look forward just a little bit. Just a touch. Next week, we have OTAs 4, 5, and 6. Media availability on Tuesday. Defensive coordinator Paul Gunther at the podium for the first time. And Gunther, to me, is a really, really interesting dude for a lot of reasons. One, handpicked by Gruden to be here. Obviously, he's found a lot of success throughout his career as a coordinator. You look at some of those Cincinnati defenses, and those were some good, hard-nosed defenses. And, I think you can look at those defenses and you go, those are, in essence, Raiders defenses and what the Raiders want to be able to do and kind of impose on teams going forward. So I'm excited to hear what Paul's got to say.
As am I. We've seen Reggie Nelson, who served under Paul Gunther in 2015. Also Leon Hall, who the team brought in, served under Paul Gunther in 2015. Those are some guys I'm actually anxious to talk to later in this week. Spoiler, I'm going to be doing a little piece on that.
Teaser alert.
Teaser. But yeah, Paul Gunther, I want to pick his brain. I want to see what he's seeing. Just want to learn more about the scheme. I want to see more that the mentality that the guys are going to have under his leadership. And like you said, he wants to play that Raiders defense where they hit you in the face, punch you in the mouth, gritty style.
Yeah, I think that's one thing too, and I mean this in like the best way possible, is that it feels like the defense is kind of under the radar a little bit right now, doesn't it? There's so much focus, and for good reason, obviously, on Derek and Coop and Jordy Nelson and Martavis and Marshawn's back, and Gruden and Ole are gonna completely right this ship, and I have every confidence that they will do that. But it feels like the defense is kind of, no one's really talking about them right now. You know what I mean? And this defense has added a lot of good playmakers too.
I hear you. I think, to your point, the offense is always just such a sexy thing to talk about.
It is.
And the way John Gruden, his passion for offense just is that much more intriguing when you think about, all these offensive weapons, Jordy, Coop, Martavis, Derek, Jared Cook, the offensive line. There's all these things where you expect this high-flying act, But the defense, obviously, they're not going to be making the same plays the offense will. But we have a young Garyon Conley who's coming back.
Yes.
He's on the field.
Yes,
That's exciting. Love to see him out there. He's looking good. Obviously, he's got some rust to shake off just because of the surgery he had last year and all that. But he's one of the exciting pieces that we're going to see next year. And that might be a sexy thing to talk about in 2018.
Yes, because you're right. You said incredibly well said, so I'm not really going to add on to that. But in terms of like defensive sexiness, if you want to do defensive sexiness, lockdown quarter, pretty sexy.
Something you need.
Yeah, man, you need it so bad. And this team has been searching. David Amerson was that for a time a couple years ago when he had that kind of incredible waiver acquisition year where he was just playing out of his mind and should have made the Pro Bowl and was just an absolute beast. But yeah, you're right. Like having a lockdown cornerback is a luxury in the NFL that not a ton of people have. So if Garyon is what everyone expects him to be, that's the dude right there. That is the dude. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Official Raiders Podcast. Kyle, thank you for your time. Producer Trav in the back, appreciate you too. We'll be back. Like I said, this offseason has completely, it's been a tornado of activity, and we're here as long as they keep doing stuff. So we will talk to you soon. Friendly reminder, follow us on social. Oh, and you know what? Here's a great thing to end on. Shout out our guy, David T. Griffin, for getting Raiders.com. It was given a complete makeover, and a lot of that has to do with Dave and the hard work that him and his crew have been putting in. It looks awesome. It looks so good. It looks 2018. It looks good on your phone. It looks good on your laptop. It looks great. It's a lot easier to navigate around. And Dave does not get enough credit for doing that kind of stuff. So shout out to Dave. Check it out. And we'll catch you guys next time on the Official Raiders Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the official podcast of the Oakland Raiders.